Okay, so we're inside After Effects, and I'm going to be showing you today just a little refresher inside After Effects. We're going to be making an image like this, and we're because for the Just Talk to Me thing, we're going to be making a bomb that looks similar to this, and this is the video which we will create by the end of this tutorial. So let's just let this one load up. Here we go. So we've created something similar, and let's give it a play. So it zooms in, and then Just Talk to Me sort of decodes in onto the LCD screen, and it's got a nice glow. So I'll be showing you how to make all these shapes today. This is just a refresher because we've done this before, but I'll be just showing you as a refresher, and then I'll show you how to make this text animated like that. It's all very simple. So I'll start off by making a new composition, and I'll call this title sequence demo. You can call it whatever you like. Make sure demo. And make sure this preset is on HDTV 1080 25. That's what you want. And 20 seconds, that's fine. So I'll click OK. So now we can just start building this shape. So we want 2 green bars first of all. And every time you do a new shape, you're going to want it on a new shape layer. So to start off, I'm just going to get the rectangle tool. And my fill is currently black. And so I want to change that to a sort of dark, sort of pastel-y, muddy green. So let's draw that in, and you can see once I draw that, it's giving me shape layer 1, and I want to rename this to green bar 1. So if I come in underneath, you want to draw it on a separate shape layer, so make sure that this shape layer isn't selected, and to do that just click off down here, and then you can come in and draw another one. It's good to have them all separate, because then you've got a lot more control when you're changing colours. Sometimes it can, if we drew them all on one shape layer and I was changing the colours, or change colours of everything, so you just want to avoid that. It's just a lot easier. And now I'll right click and go to rename and call this green bar 2. So the next bit I want to do is create these sort of black bits of tape. So again, make sure none of these are selected, so click off. Come into the fill this time because we want a dark sort of greyish black. So come in here, get a dark colour, and then I'm just going to draw by here some bits of tape coming down. And then so we've got shape layer 1 created. We'll call this tape 1. Click off. So when you create a new shape again, you're making a new layer. So come in. And we've got another bit of tape there. Now, it's all getting quite jumbled up because, we've got a lot of layers. So let's quickly call this one tape 2. And just to, hide all these, just click this little arrow and it'll close each one of these out. So now you can click in here, and again, we're on a new shape layer. Now, next bit I want to create is going to be this sort of screen. So, I want to sort of, here I went for sort of just silvery shape. So let's go in, and again, make sure we're clicked off, get a fill, and go to sort of silver. And now I can draw this sort of back of the screen in like that, and right click, rename. I'm going to call this screen silver. Make sure I've got an N in there. Okay, what's next? We want this red button, and then we want a sort of black screen by here, and then we'll do the wires. So to do that red button, again, make sure you're clicked off, and let's change this to a red, sort of something a bit dirty red, and then let's draw in a big sort of red button by here, and let's rename this again. It's a lot of repeating the same steps, but you're building upon what you've got, and you're making something pretty cool. So next is going to be the sort of black LCD screen. So again, click off, and make sure you rename all of these because keeps it tidy then. And let's go for a sort of blackish dark black screen. So let's draw that in like so. So now the only bits we've got to add is the wires. So first of all, let's rename this to LCD screen and close that down. Right, so we've got that. We want to add the wires now. So the way we do that is selecting this pen tool. So give that a click, and we want to give it a stroke, not a fill, because let me just show you. I'll make it a white fill, and I'll just show you what will happen. If we start clicking, it'll fill the inside of it just like this, and we don't want that. So I'm just going to delete this shape layer. We want to set this fill to none, so click, instead of clicking the color box, click the word fill, and it'll give you this box. And the one with the line through it, that means none, so there's going to be nothing on the fill. And the stroke is, my stroke is currently set to none, so just to get it off that, just click in that box, and then I'll give it, I want some nice red wires, so something like that. Click in there, and now I can start clicking. And if I just, click without holding and dragging, it'll be very jagged, and we don't want that, so again I'll delete. I'm going to click here to make it curvy, I'm going to click here, and I'm going to click over here, but hold down, and then drag, okay, and it's giving us a nice curve. And then I'm just going to click here, and then I'll end my wire there, so I'll click off. So we got one wire, so right click, rename wire 1, and we're just going to do the exact same thing with the other side. So again, I've got my pen, new layer, I've got red stroke, and I'm going to click, and then click and drag, and then click and drag, and then click and drag, and then click and drag like that. So now we've got another wire the other side, and yeah, it doesn't look as if it's going into somewhere, but that doesn't matter too much. You can see there's some wires there. So I'll rename this one wire 2, and I might just give it another one. So let's just click here, and then click here, and then just click in here like that. So now this image, I thought, yeah, it's got a sort of wire going across like that. So we've got something similar, so it looks, a bit intimidating. So we can go in, rename this to wire 3. Okay. Now, if you wanted to, you could always zoom in and sort of move these bits just like so it connects up a bit better. It's up to you. You don't have to. But yeah, so that's one way you could go about it. Another way is if you select one of these wires and then select the pen tool, you can zoom in and start modifying each of these points. Start pulling these handles to make it a bit more curvy and stuff like that. So it's really up to you. Select it in the layers panel, and then with your pen tool just come in and click and drag. But yeah, I'm going to leave it at that just for today. So what we want to do next is we want to compress all of these layers. It's good that we've got them separate, that's what we needed, but we want to condense them all down into one layer. So what I'm going to do is you can either click and drag, or you can select the bottom, then hold shift and select the top, then hold shift, select the bottom, and you've got them all selected. Once you've done that, go to layer and pre-compose. And all pre-compose means it just merges them into a separate composition. So it's one layer. So I'm going to call this bomb shape and click OK. And now you can see it's just one layer, so we can turn it on and off all together. Now if you wanted to access this stuff, all you need to do is double click, and it'll open it up, and you've got all of these. It's like a little folder system in a sense. When you use Windows Explorer, you've got things in folders. It's similar to that. So within here is all of these little layers. But if we wanted to animate now the scale, we animate it as a whole. So we've got that. So let me just position this, grab my mouse and just put this in the center. So I want to have this sort of zooming up to the camera. So I'm going to set at 0 seconds a keyframe for scale by hitting this stopwatch. To get scale, by the way, I hit S on the keyboard while this layer was selected. And now that I've hit the stopwatch, that's given me this keyframe at the beginning. So I'm going to move forward to 2 seconds by here, and then I'm just going to click and drag this and make it bigger so it's zoomed in. Like so. Just going to move it down a bit. So now what we've got is another keyframe at the 2 second mark. So if we scrub through, we zoom in like so to our bomb. So that's the bit of animation we've got at the beginning. Next I want to add the text. So I'm going to grab this text tool by here and click in, and I'm going to type just talk to me. Now this font I used is called LCD. Before it was on something like Arial or something, so this is what it was, and will be for you guys, something like Arial. So just type in LCD and it comes with After Effects, so it should be there. What you need to do then is I sort of hit enter and separate it onto 2 lines. click and select, and you can make it bigger, and just make sure it fills that area. So if you want to re-highlight it, just make sure you hit T. Make sure you select this layer and get this icon by here, and then you can click and drag and make it bigger like so. Okay, so just reposition that. So in this video, what we've got here is we have it sort of, first of all, it has got a glow to it, but it also sort of decodes in. Now there is another tutorial which I've shown you where I animate the words, their position and maybe rotation and stuff, mainly position to be honest. But what I've showed you before as well, if you come to Effects and Presets, and you've got this little drop down Animation Presets, click this, and then come to Text, and you've got Animate in this folder, so click this again. Now the one I used was called Decoder Fade in. Now first of all, we don't want this text to be, first we've got to sort of zoom in, and we want this text only to become visible when we're fully zoomed in. So to make that happen, you click this and drag it so it starts by there. So now make sure that this is your time indicator, this sort of red line. Make sure that this is at the beginning of the text layer, and drag Decoder Fade in onto your text layer by here. And what that'll do, if you hit U, it'll give you some keyframes, which is pre-made keyframes. So I'll just hide them with you. And as I scroll across now, you can see it decodes in. Now what would have happened if my time indicator was at the beginning is these keyframes would have been made right by here. So you play through, and it's already, when the layer starts, it's already half decoding in because the keyframe started earlier. So that's why it's important to make sure that your time indicator, this line by here, is at the beginning of the text. So then it sort of starts decoding in. And the last thing I'm going to show you is how to add a glow. So there's two ways about doing this. You can close all these folders down and then go to Stylize and find glow. Or if you want to do it the quick way, you can just type glow and it'll search for it, and here it is. Now I'm going to drag this onto my text like that, and we've got a nice subtle glow going on. You can play with these, the intensity, the radius, something like that. You can even select it and hit Control or Command D, and it duplicates it, but that's a bit too strong. You can dial it down like so, and yeah, fiddle around with the settings, but that's kind of good. So let's have a look at what we've got so far. So it zooms in, and then just talk to me comes on. So obviously you guys have to add the director's name. You can do that via this sort of screen, or you can have the words sort of transition in here and animate in here, like I showed you in the other tutorial. So yeah, so that's all I want to show you. So cheers.